when my son was born in 96. After his birth, I suffered a prolapsed uterus. And for a year, I wore a diaphragm
Right.
to keep it up in place. Um, then after about a year, I decided, you know what, I just the hassles of that in itself. Um, I decided that I was going to have a hysterectomy, and because I had planned just to, not do kids anymore, one and done. And so I had the hysterectomy in 97. And then, like 2 years later after that, I developed the rectocele. So that's the prolapse of the rectum. Went in and had surgery done for that as well. And things were pretty status quo for quite some time. But then in 2019, diagnosed with the prolapsed bladder. And I was, not happy about that, but
Mm.
okay, everything south, headed south, doesn't want to be up in its right position. I opted at that time to do physical therapy. I didn't think I wanted to go through the surgeries or through a surgery again. And conventional physical therapy was Kegels and clamshells and um, bridges. Don't do anything that was um, pushing. Like all of my, I'm very active. I go to the gym. Call me a gym rat, but so I could not do any of the stuff like the lifting of the weights that I used to be able to do. The anything that was going to be pushing out or forcing anything out. So I had to revamp my whole workout for that. And then I had finally gotten to the point I started doing quite a bit of hiking, and it was most uncomfortable because the bladder bulge was outside of the vaginal area. And so it was most uncomfortable to do that. So that took me back to the doctor, OBGYN, back in 2023, early part of 2023, I think it was. And at that time, I was like, okay, surgery's it. We just need to do it because I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And I was not a surgery candidate because where they would have tacked up the bladder was in the same area that they tacked up the rectocele, apparently. And in my exam, when the doctor was looking at that area, it was extremely painful.
Wow.
And her concern was that if I had had that surgery, that I could potentially end up with chronic pain
Wow.
for the rest of my life because of where that surgery was having to take place. And then I was like, oh my God. So I went on another adventure of trying to locate other options. I was looking at um, doTERRA, uh, essential oils. I was doing a lot of research about, infusing those into um, like a shea butter base or whatever, and using a suppository to help with healing and help strengthening your because I was having a lot of dryness as well, and so that was a big part of it. And when I reached out to the person that I get my doTERRA from, her sister is kind of the big doTERRA guru in the circle of friends. And she was like, I need to introduce you to Jeanette. And I'm like, okay, what does Jeanette do? And she says she's got this amazing hypopressives exercises. And I'm like, what are hypopressives? And so just getting more information. And that's then when I reached out to Jeanette and I started doing the hypopressives. So 2 years into religiously doing these exercises, not only going through the 12-week program, but also signing up for the more advanced classes that she holds. Um, I finally went into the doctor this past in 2025 because I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested. Been doing it for 2 years now. How is it? And they told me that I have reversed my prolapse. It's no longer a surgical case, a concern. We don't need to see you again unless symptoms come back. I came out of that appointment like in tears. I was like, oh my God. So
Yeah.
super grateful. Well, I would certainly say don't wait because the sooner that you can get started with these exercises, I think the more better or the better chance you'll have of a success.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of my commitment was, I wasn't a surgical candidate. So I needed to do something different. Certain positions and certain parts of the workout, I can totally feel everything in the pelvic floor pulling up
Amazing.
and being stronger, being stronger for sure. Well, these are so, I guess, specialized, what I'd call specialized exercises that for myself, I was like, and I'm very, I'm used to working with trainers and stuff like that. And I'm one of these people that I want to know and I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly because if you're not, you can end up injured or it's not even going to be helpful. Part of it too is that you have to be consistent. I mean, you have to just put it in your mind that this is what's going to happen today or on these days, and for me, the 3 days a week, that works. And I, I you have to have in the beginning for sure, you have to be able to because there's a lot of little nuances with these exercises. The breath holding, the making sure you're in alignment, making sure that you can, feel the I call it suction to feel the pull, coming up and pulling everything up and holding it and being able to keep your legs flexed and stuff. So like I said before, I have Jeanette's little voice in the back of my head always, okay, as she talks us
You're welcome.
through during the classes and stuff, So um I think you need to have some help along the way before you head out on your own. And I've just enjoyed Jeanette as an instructor because gonna get emotional here. She can walk you through and talk you through these exercises, and you know exactly what you need to do. Whereas I've had some, instructors where it's a little bit like, what are we doing? What am I doing with my feet right now? And that kind of thing. So that's what I appreciate about Jeanette is that she's very clear about the direction that she's taking you in the exercises that you're doing. Um, and I just enjoy her classes because there's no other classes in the United States anyway. If you're
Right.
from the United States, there's no other classes like this. I can tell you that.
Well,
What everybody's body's different, and it may take you only 6 months to get to that point, depending on how bad your prolapse is and stuff, and how and what you're dealing with. But I can tell you that if I had known about Jeanette when I had my prolapsed uterus and my prolapsed rectocele or the rectum area, I probably wouldn't have chosen to go through surgery because the hysterectomy surgery was way worse than even childbirth, in my opinion. That surgery was horrible. So had I known Jeanette, back then, which I would with wish I would have, I definitely would have tried these exercises prior to even considering going under the scalpel. You just don't know how long it's going to take. But you
yeah.
just don't. But I know that if I didn't do something, I would still not be doing the things that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
In fact, during the whole time of doing this, I was dealing with plantar fasciitis as well. And so my hiking was pretty much on a standstill. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is my body telling me I need to take a break and I need to focus on myself and get myself better. And it's taken, these last 2 years of being able to do that. But I'm now up to back to doing my hiking and stuff like that. And I don't have the issues with the uncomfortable bladder
Mm.
poking out. My hike. I just think you have to give it a try.
Yeah.
And Jeanette is your best bet. PT, you need to do more Kegels, you need to do, all of their different exercises that we do here, which I'm not saying that they didn't help. I think they helped. I'm saying that hyperpressives are there to reverse. Really, I would say it has become a lifestyle change. You, and it's a commitment to yourself. I've done it for so long now that it's like if I'm not doing it, I'm like, what? What's going on? Right? So you build that habit and it just becomes that routine, that normal routine that this is what I do on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's helping me to stay. I mean, I'll turn 61 this year, but I don't feel like I'm 61.
That's
I
great.
feel much younger. I feel, more active than I was back in my 30s, you know. So, but definitely as you get older, I mean, every year, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to deal with today. So, thankful every morning that I can wake up and just be, like I said, it just becomes the routine. This is the recession, you know. But to do something in the morning, first thing, it's definitely well worth it. I
And
hope
yeah,
that it inspires others to check you out, and it has been a lifesaver for me.
thank you. And yeah.